The horse stopped without command. Wyatt Cole didn't pull the reins, didn't speak. The animal just halted at the river's edge, ears forward, sensing something wrong in the pre-dawn mist. The water ran high snow melt from the mountains, swelling the current. Gray sky pressed down on gray water. Frost clung to the dead grass along the bank, glittering like broken glass in the half-light. Then Wyatt saw her, a woman's body, motionless, half submerged in the reeds. He was off the horse before thought caught up to instinct. Boots splashing through shallow water, cold biting through leather. He grabbed her shoulder, turned her face up, alive, barely. Blue lips, skin like ice. Her dress soaked through, torn at the hem. One hand still clutched a shawl, muddy and useless. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused, terrified. "Easy," Wyatt said, his voice low and steady. "I got you." She tried to speak. Nothing came but a shiver that racked her whole body. Wyatt looked around. No wagon. No horse. No tracks but hers boot prints leading into the water. Then drag marks where she'd crawled back out. Alone. Someone had left her here. He pulled off his coat, wrapped it around her shoulders. She weighed almost nothing when he lifted her. Behind him. 50 yards back. His children sat on their pony. Hope, 8 years old. Watched with wide eyes. Eli, 5. Clutched the saddle horn. Silent as always. Papa, Hope called. "Who is she?" "Someone who needed help," Wyatt said. He set the woman on his horse, steadied her with one hand. She swayed, barely conscious. He took the reins, started walking, leading the horse, giving her his ride. Hope guided the pony closer. "Is she dead?" "Not if I can help it." Wyatt glanced at his daughter. "Never ride past someone in need. Remember?" "Yes, Papa." They walked in silence. The woman didn't speak. Didn't ask where they were going, just held the saddle horn with both hands, shaking. Wyatt looked back once. On the far bank. Barely visible in the mist boot prints. Heavy ones. A man's, leading away from the river, not toward it. He set his jaw. Kept walking. The town sat in the distance, smoke rising from chimneys. Wyatt didn't look at it. Looked at the trail ahead, at his children, at the woman who might not make it to his cabin. "We're taking her home," he said quietly. Hope nodded. Eli said nothing. The boy hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since his mama died. The sun crept over the ridge, pale and cold. Winter wasn't done with them yet, maybe wouldn't ever be. But Wyatt kept walking. Out here, your word was your bond, and your deeds were your witness. The woman woke to a child's face inches from hers. "Hello," Hope said, smiling. She held a tin cup. "You want water?" The woman jerked back, eyes wild. She was on a bed-soft quilt. Warm room. A fire crackled in a stone hearth. Log walls. Bible on the mantel. "Where?" Her voice cracked. "Where am I?" "Papa's house." Hope set the cup on a small table. "You were at the river. You were real cold." The woman scanned the room. A man stood by the fire, back turned, giving her space. Tall, broad-shouldered, work-worn clothes. He didn't look at her. "You're safe," he said quietly. "Name's Wyatt Cole. This is my daughter. Hope, that's Eli." He nodded toward a small boy peeking around the doorframe. The woman pulled the quilt tighter. "You shouldn't have. You needed help." Wyatt turned now, meeting her eyes. His face was weathered, honest. "That's all that matters." She didn't know what to say. Kindness felt like a trap. It always had been. Hope sat on the edge of the bed. Fearless. "What's your name?" The woman hesitated. "Nora. Nora Hale." "That's a pretty name." Hope grinned. You want some bread? Papa makes good bread. Before Nora could answer, the boy Eli crept forward. He set a small piece of bread on the quilt beside her. Didn't speak, just looked at her with solemn eyes, then backed away. Thank you, Nora whispered. Wyatt poured coffee into a chipped mug. Stay till you're strong. No questions about where you came from. He set the mug within her reach. The land don't care who you were, only who you choose to be now. Nora stared at him. Why would you do this? Because you needed it. The simplicity of it nearly broke her. A knock at the door shattered the moment. Wyatt opened it. A woman in a heavy coat stood there, holding a basket of eggs. Her eyes went straight to Nora. Mrs. Barrett, Wyatt said evenly. Wyatt Cole. Mrs. Barrett stepped inside without invitation. Her gaze swept the room, landed on Nora, lingered. I heard you brought someone home. That's right. A strange woman. Mrs. Barrett's voice was careful, pointed. Under your roof with children present. She needed shelter, Wyatt said. I had shelter to give. That's the end of it. Mrs. Barrett's smile was tight. People will talk. Let them talk. I sleep fine. She set the eggs on the table, her movements deliberate. Just concerned for you, Wyatt. And those children? Her eyes flicked to Nora again. You understand. I understand you're a kind neighbor, Wyatt said, opening the door. Much obliged for the eggs. Mrs. Barrett hesitated, then left. Her wagon clattered down the trail, fast. Wyatt closed the door, stood there a moment, jaw tight. I should leave, Nora said quietly, before I ruin you. Wyatt turned. You're not trouble, Miss Hale. You're someone who deserves a chance. He met her eyes. If trouble comes, we'll face it. Eli crossed the room, took Nora's hand, wouldn't let go. Nora looked down at the boy, then at Wyatt. Something shifted in her chest, small, fragile, like hope trying to take root in frozen ground. She nodded. All right. Wyatt nodded back. All right. Outside, Mrs. Barrett's wagon disappeared toward town, smoke rising from chimneys, judgment waiting. But inside the cabin, the fire burned warm. The children settled near Nora, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt something close to safe. Never explain. Never complain, just do right and let the chips fall. The stars were sharp and cold above Sarah's grave. Wyatt knelt beside the simple wooden cross, hat in his hands. The wind cut through his shirt, but he didn't move. Didn't rush. This was where he came when the weight got too heavy to carry alone. I don't know if I'm doing right by you. Sarah, he said quietly, bringing her into our home. The children like her. Eli looks at her the way he used to look at you. He traced the carved letters on the cross. Sarah Cole, beloved wife and mother. I thought I was done, he whispered. Thought I'd just raise the kids and work the land till I'm dust. But she's got nowhere. And you'd have helped her. I know you would. The wind answered. Nothing else. Wyatt closed his eyes. Promise me you'll live, not just survive, Sarah had said, blood on her lips, their stillborn son in her arms. Promise you'll let someone in again. He'd promised, but he hadn't kept it. Until now. If this is wrong, Wyatt said, send me a sign. But if it's right, help me stand. No thunder, no revelation. Just the cold and the stars and the memory of his wife's hand going limp in his. He stood, walked back to the cabin, inside. Lamplight glowed. Nora sat by the fire, teaching Hope to braid. Eli leaned against her shoulder. She was singing soft, tentative, Wyatt froze in the doorway. That song. Sarah's lullaby. Nora stopped, noticing him. I'm sorry, did I sing it again? Eli said, the first words he'd spoken in 2 years. Nora's breath caught. She looked at Wyatt, then at Eli. You want me to sing? Eli nodded. She sang. Her voice trembled, but she sang. Wyatt's throat tightened. He stepped outside, closed the door quietly, leaned against the wall. Let the tears come. Inside, his son was speaking. His daughter was laughing. And a woman he barely knew was giving them something he couldn't normally see. Joy. Maybe Sarah had sent him a sign after all. Sunday came too soon. The church sat on the edge of town. White clapboard and a crooked steeple. Wyatt didn't go often. Sarah had been the faithful one. But today felt important. Like a line being drawn. He brought Nora. The congregation noticed immediately. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Eyes tracked them as they walked down the aisle. Wyatt kept his face calm, his hand steady on Hope's shoulder. Nora walked behind him, head up, but her hands shook. They sat in the back. The whispers grew louder. The preacher, Reverend Thorne, climbed to the pulpit. Older man, gray beard, kind eyes that had seen too much. He opened his Bible. Today's sermon, he said, is about the Good Samaritan. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Reverend Thorne read the parable. The man beaten and left for dead. The priest who walked past, the Levite who crossed the road, and the Samaritan the outsider, the judge who stopped, who helped. We are called, the Reverend said, to see suffering and act, not to debate worthiness, not to protect our reputations, to act. The congregation shifted. A few nodded. Most stared straight ahead, stone-faced, after the service. Wyatt helped Nora stand. They turned toward the door. A man blocked their path. Warren Kent, banker, town councilman, impeccably dressed, silver watch chain gleaming. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. Wyatt Cole, Kent said pleasantly. Might I have a word? We're heading home. Mr. Kent. It'll only take a moment. Kent gestured to the side door, not a request. Wyatt looked at Nora. Wait here. She nodded, pulling the children close. Outside. Kent lit a cigar, took his time. You're a single father, Cole. That I am. Taking in a strange woman, into your home, with young, impressionable children. Kent smiled. People are concerned. Concerned about what? Your judgment, your fitness? Kent let the words hang. A man in your position must be above reproach. For the children's sake. Wyatt's jaw tightened. I'm teaching my children mercy, that's all. Mercy. Kent nodded slowly. Admirable. But the law has standards. Child welfare standards. If your household is deemed inappropriate, well, there are remedies. The threat was clear. You threatening to take my children. Kent, not at all. Kent's smile widened. Simply advising you, as a friend. Wyatt stepped closer. Close enough to see the fear flicker in Kent's eyes. Think of your children's welfare. Kent added quickly. I am, Wyatt said quietly. That's why I'm teaching them mercy, not cruelty. He turned, walked back inside, found Nora and the kids. They left through the side door, avoiding the crowd, on the walk home. Nora spoke first. I'll leave. I'm causing trouble. Wyatt stopped, looked her in the eye. You're not trouble. You're someone who deserves a chance. His voice was firm. If trouble comes, we'll face it. Nora searched his face. Why are you doing this? Because it's right. Hope tugged his hand. Papa, are they going to take us away? Wyatt knelt, meeting his daughter's eyes. No, sweetheart, I won't let that happen. But as they walked home, the town behind them, Wyatt knew the fight had only just begun. Do what's right and fear no man. He'd do right. Come hell or high water. 2 weeks passed like the slow thaw of spring. Nora proved herself without a word. Up before dawn. Mending fences Wyatt had started, cooking meals that reminded him of home, teaching Hope her letters by candlelight, following Eli through the fields, letting him show her things rocks, tracks, the first brave shoots of grass pushing through frozen ground. She didn't ask for thanks, didn't ask for anything. Wyatt watched her work, watched her laugh when she hammered her thumb, watched her sit with Eli, patient as stone, waiting for him to speak again. He'd spoken once, just once, but it was a start. The town, though, was fracturing. Some neighbors came in, secret brought bread, eggs, quiet words of support. Mary Gibbs, the blacksmith's widow, squeezed Nora's hand. You're doing fine. Honey, don't let them break you. Others crossed the street when they saw Wyatt coming, turned their backs at the general store. One afternoon, Wyatt walked into Brennan's store with Nora. She needed fabric for a dress. Her old one was falling apart. The clerk, young man named Thomas, puffed up with borrowed authority, looked at her like she was dirt. We don't serve her kind, Thomas said. Wyatt set a silver dollar on the counter. Hard. Her money's as good as anyone's. Store policy. Mr. Cole. Since when? Thomas didn't answer. Just crossed his arms. Wyatt leaned forward. You serve her, or I take my business elsewhere. Permanently. Thomas hesitated. Glanced at the back room, where old man Brennan was sleeping off whiskey. If you say so, Reverend Cole. The mockery stung, but Wyatt didn't flinch. They got the fabric. Left without another word. Outside. Nora stopped. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. They'll only hate you more. Wyatt looked at her. I don't need them to like me. I need to sleep at night. She smiled small. Real. You're a good man, Wyatt Cole. He didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. That evening, he taught her to ride. She'd never learned. Her husband, if you could call him that, had never allowed it. Women don't need horses, he'd said. They need to stay put. Wyatt saddled the gentlest mare they had, helped Nora up. Her hands gripped the saddle horn so tight her knuckles went white. Easy, Wyatt said. She's not going to hurt you. I'm not worried about the horse. What are you worried about? Falling? Everyone falls. He adjusted the stirrups. That's how you learn. He walked beside the horse, one hand on the reins. Nora wobbled, tensed, then slowly relaxed. The mare walked in a gentle circle around the yard. Hope and Eli watched from the porch, grinning. You're doing fine, Wyatt said. Nora laughed, surprised by her own courage. I'm doing terribly. Nope, just learning. That's different. The mare spooked at a rabbit. Nora yelped, lost her balance, tumbled sideways. Wyatt caught her before she hit the ground. For a moment, they stood there, his hands on her waist, her hands on his shoulders. Close enough to feel each other's breath, their eyes met. Something passed between them, electric, undeniable. They pulled back at the same time. Sorry, Nora said, flustered. Don't be... Wyatt stepped back, cleared his throat. You all right? Yes. I'm fine. But neither of them felt fine. They felt something neither had expected. Hope's voice cut through the moment. Papa, are you going to kiss her? Hope. Wyatt's face burned. Go inside. Hope giggled, grabbed Eli's hand, and ran for the cabin. Nora covered her mouth, trying not to laugh. Wyatt shook his head. I apologize for them, don't, Nora said softly. She's just being a child. Still. They stood in awkward silence. Finally, Nora said, Thank you for teaching me. Any time. She walked back to the cabin. Wyatt watched her go, then turned toward the barn. On the ridge above the property, a rider sat motionless, watching. Warren Kent, writing notes in a small book. Wyatt saw him, didn't wave, didn't move. Kent smiled, tucked the book away, and rode off. Evidence. That's what he was gathering. Wyatt clenched his fists, breathed deep. Trust comes slow as spring thaw, but once it melts. The river runs strong. He'd trust. And he'd stand. No matter what came next. The storm came without warning. Thunder split the sky just after sunset. Rain hammered the roof like fists. Lightning turned the world white, then black, then white again. The children huddled under quilts, eyes wide. It's all right, Wyatt said, adding wood to the fire. Just noise. But Nora flinched with every crash of thunder. Not from the storm, from something else. Wyatt noticed. Said nothing. The hours dragged. Rain showed no sign of stopping. The children finally fell asleep, curled together on the bed. Wyatt and Nora sat by the fire, the only light in the dark. The silence stretched. Then Nora spoke. I walked into that river on purpose. Wyatt looked at her, waited. I was married, she continued, voice flat, to a man who seemed kind, charming, even. Everyone said I was lucky. She stared at the flames. They didn't see what happened behind closed doors. Wyatt said nothing, just listened. He controlled everything, what I wore, who I spoke to, where I went. Her hands twisted in her lap. If I disobeyed, he'd remind me of my place. Thunder cracked. Nora didn't flinch this time. I tried to leave twice. He found me both times. The second time, he dragged me to the river, said if I wanted to leave so badly, I could leave with nothing. He held my head under the water, then let go, rode away. Wyatt's jaw tightened. Rage simmered, controlled. I walked into the water. Nora whispered, all the way in. Thought maybe it'd be easier, quieter. She looked at Wyatt. But I couldn't. Some stupid part of me wanted to live. So I crawled back out. And that's where you found me. The fire crackled. The rain pounded. Part of me stayed dead in that river. Nora said, I don't know if I'll ever get it back. Wyatt leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You took more courage to walk back out than most people have in a lifetime. His voice was steady. That's all I need to know. You don't look at me like I'm broken, because you're not bent. Maybe, but not broken. Nora's eyes filled. She looked away, embarrassed. My wife died in childbirth, Wyatt said quietly. Nora turned back. Third baby, stillborn. Wyatt's voice was rough. Sarah bled. I rode for the doctor. Took too long. Chose the wrong midwife. By the time I got back, she was. He stopped. She died while I prayed. That's not your fault. Feels like it. Would she want you to stop living? Wyatt didn't answer. Couldn't. Nora reached over, hesitated, then rested her hand on his. You didn't kill her, Wyatt. Life did, and life's cruel. But you're still here. Your children are still here. That means something. He looked down at her hand on his. Small. Scarred. Real. I'll always love her, he said. But I got to let myself breathe again. He stood, walked to the mantel, picked up his wedding ring. He'd worn it on a chain around his neck since Sarah died, held it a moment, then set it on the mantel beside her Bible. Not thrown away, honored, but released. Nora watched, understanding. They sat in silence until the storm eased. The fire burned low. At some point, exhaustion won. They fell asleep where they sat 2 feet apart. But together, morning came soft and gray. Hope woke first, saw them by the fire, smiled, didn't wake them. Then she opened the door to fetch water. A letter was nailed to the wood, crude writing, big letters. Unfit father, immoral household. We're watching. Hope tore it down, crumpled it, shoved it in her pocket. She wouldn't let them hurt her papa. Not while she could stop it. The storm don't ask permission, it just comes. What matters is what you build to weather it. The town hall was packed. Oil lamps flickered on rough-hewn walls, every seat filled. Standing room only in the back. Wyatt walked in with Nora beside him. Silence fell like a blade. All eyes turned, judging, measuring, condemning. Warren Kent stood at the front, papers spread on a table. He wore his best suit, silver watch chain gleaming, smiled when he saw Wyatt. Mr. Cole, Kent said smoothly. Thank you for coming. Wyatt said nothing, found 2 chairs in the back, sat. Nora beside him, spine straight, hands folded. Reverend Thorne stood near the front, looking uncomfortable. Mrs. Barrett sat with the other women, eyes downcast. The blacksmith's widow, Mary Gibbs, nodded at Wyatt's solidarity. Most others stared ahead, stone-faced. Kent called the meeting to order. We're here, he began, to address concerns regarding the welfare of children in our community. His voice was reasonable, calm. Specifically, the children of Mr. Wyatt Cole. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Mr. Cole is a widower, a single father. Kent paced slowly. Recently, he has taken into his home a woman of unknown character. This woman resides under his roof, with his children, without the sanctity of marriage or even proper chaperoning. That's not... Nora started. Wyatt put a hand on her arm, shook his head. Not yet. Kent continued. I have testimony from a witness who observed behavior inconsistent with proper moral conduct. He held up a paper. Intimate contact, late-night meetings, the children exposed to this environment. Lies, all lies. I ask this assembly, Kent said, to consider the welfare of Hope and Eli Cole. Are they safe? Are they being raised in a godly home? Or are they being corrupted by their father's poor? Judgment. The crowd murmured louder. Wyatt stood. Sit down, Mr. Cole. Kent said, You'll have your chance. I'll speak now. Kent's smile tightened. Very well. Wyatt walked to the front, turned to face the town. His town. People he'd known for years. People who'd mourned with him when Sarah died. You call me unfit. His voice was quiet, but it carried. I'll tell you what's unfit, watching someone suffer and riding past. He pointed at Nora. That woman you condemn survived cruelty, chose courage. She taught my son, who hasn't spoken in 2 years, to speak again. She taught my daughter to read. She mends fences and cooks meals and shows my children what kindness looks like. His voice rose. If that's corruption, then judge me guilty. But don't you dare call it wrong to help someone in need. The room was silent. She's done nothing improper, Wyatt continued. Nothing immoral. She's worked. She's lived. She's been decent. That's more than I can say for some folks in this room. Kent stepped forward, This is mob sentiment, not law. We have procedures. Vote then. Wyatt said, if you want to take my children, vote. But look them in the eye when you do it. Kent hesitated, then nodded. Very well. All in favor of temporary removal of the Cole children, pending investigation. Raise your hand. Hands went up. Not all, but enough. Wyatt's heart sank. Motion carries, Kent said. The children will stay with my sister until... No. Hope's voice rang out. She stood in the doorway. Eli beside her. They'd followed. Listened. Papa didn't do anything wrong. Hope's face was red. Tears streaming. Miss Nora's good. She's kind. You're all just mean. Oh, Hope Wyatt moved toward her. They can't take us, Papa. They can't, but they could. And they did. That night. Wyatt took his children to Warren Kent's sister, a stern woman named Judith, who looked at Hope and Eli like they were burdens, not blessings. They'll be well cared for, Judith said coldly. Hope clung to Wyatt's neck. Don't leave us. Papa, I'm not leaving you. Wyatt's voice cracked. I'm going to fix this. I promise. But how? I don't know yet, but I will. Eli, silent again, pressed his face against Wyatt's chest. Wyatt kissed their heads, set them down, walked to the door, looked back. Hope stood in the window, small and alone. She lit a candle. Their signal. We're waiting. Papa. Wyatt rode home in darkness. The cabin was cold when he arrived. Nora stood by the fire, her bag packed. I'm leaving, she said. This is my fault. If you go, they win. Wyatt's voice was hollow. They'll say I was harboring something shameful, that I knew you were trouble. He met her eyes. Stay. Help me prove them wrong. How? I don't know yet. He sank into a chair. But I can't do it alone. Nora dropped the bag, sat beside him. They didn't speak, didn't move. Just sat in the dark, two people who'd lost too much, refusing to lose more. Outside, the stars turned cold. The law ain't always just, but a man's conscience is. 3 days passed like a slow death. Wyatt worked the land mechanically, plowed fields, mended fences, fed animals, but his mind was elsewhere, on Hope's face in the window, on Eli's silence returning. Nora tended Sarah's garden. The first green shoots were pushing through. She watered them carefully, pulling weeds, talking to them like they could hear. Sarah, she whispered, if you're listening, help him. Help me help him. The garden didn't answer. But the shoots grew. Dawn came gray and cold. Wyatt stood by the barn, staring at nothing. A wagon approached. He tensed, expecting trouble. Mrs. Barrett climbed down. She looked older than she had a week ago. Worn. Wyatt, she said quietly. Mrs. Barrett, I need to say something. She twisted her hands. I started this. The gossip. The whispers. I was jealous. Wyatt said nothing. You moved on, she continued, voice breaking. After Sarah, you found someone to care for, and I'm still bitter, still alone. My husband left me 10 years ago, and I never forgave him, so I made you pay for it. Tears ran down her face. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'll testify. I'll tell them the truth that there was never anything improper. Just kindness. Just decency. Wyatt studied her, saw genuine remorse. All right, he said. All right, I don't hold grudges. Mrs. Barrett, life's too short. He nodded toward the house. Come inside. We'll figure this out. She followed him in. Nora looked up, surprised. Mrs. Barrett wants to help, Wyatt said. Nora stood slowly, crossed the room, extended her hand. Mrs. Barrett took it. I'm sorry for what I did to you. Thank you, Nora said quietly. A second wagon arrived, then a third. Mary Gibbs, the blacksmith's widow. Then Alice Turner, the store clerk's wife, a small woman with haunted eyes. I'll stand with you. Alice said, My husband's a coward. I'm not. Reverend Thorne came on foot. I should have spoken up during the vote, he said. Shame in his voice. I was afraid of losing Kent's donations. I'm ashamed. Let me make it right. By midday, 5 people sat in Wyatt's cabin, planning. We call a gathering, Reverend Thorne said. Not a trial, a testimony. We speak the truth. Let the town see what really happened. Kent won't allow it. Mrs. Barrett said, Kent doesn't control everything. Mary Gibbs said, Not yet. I'll speak, Nora said suddenly. They all turned. I'll tell them what happened to me, who I am, why I was at that river. Her voice was steady. No more hiding. If they want to judge me, they can do it to my face. Wyatt looked at her, saw the courage it took. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She met his eyes. I'm done running. They spread the word quietly. Gathering at the town square. Tomorrow. Noon. That night. Wyatt and Nora rode to Kent's sister's house, stayed in the shadows, watched the window. Hope appeared, saw them, lit a candle. Wyatt's throat tightened. We're coming, he whispered. Hold on, sweetheart, we're coming. Courage ain't the absence of fear, it's saddling up anyway. The town square at noon. Twice as many people as the vote. Word had spread. Curiosity. Her conscience didn't matter. They came. Warren Kent stood near the front, confident. His sister Judith beside him, arms crossed. The children weren't there, kept away. Wyatt walked into the center, unarmed, alone. The crowd quieted. Sunlight glinted off his worn boots, years of honest work stamped into the leather. He looked at the faces, some sympathetic, most uncertain. You call me unfit, Wyatt said. His voice was calm. I'll tell you what's unfit. He let the words settle. Watching someone suffer and riding past. Claiming to follow Christ while condemning mercy. Calling yourselves good people while punishing decency. Kent stepped forward. This isn't... I'm not finished. Wyatt's tone didn't rise, but it cut. That woman you condemned, Nora Hale. She survived a husband who beat her, who drowned her and left her at a river to die. She crawled back out, chose to live. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She came to my home broken, and she's healing. My children are healing because of her. My son spoke for the first time in 2 years because she sang him his mama's song. My daughter learned to read because Nora sat with her every night. Wyatt's voice cracked. If that's corruption, then I'm guilty, but don't you dare call it wrong. Mrs. Barrett stepped forward. I started the gossip. I was jealous and bitter, but I was wrong. There was never any impropriety, only kindness, and I'm ashamed. Alice Turner joined her. I've been where Nora was, trapped, abused. She's not shameful. She's brave, and Wyatt Cole gave her a chance to live again. Reverend Thorne spoke next. I should have defended them. I was afraid. But Scripture is clear, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. One by one, allies spoke. Then Nora stepped forward. The crowd shifted. Whispers, stares. I don't ask for your pity, Nora said. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. I ask for what you'd want if you were left at a river's edge to drown. Mercy. She looked at each face. Mr. Cole gave me that. He gave me my life back. He didn't ask who I was. He didn't judge. He just helped. Her eyes filled. If you punish him for that, You teach your children that kindness is weakness, and that's a lie. Silence. Then an old rancher named Clyde Harper stood, weathered face, hard eyes, respected by everyone. I've known Wyatt Cole since he was a boy, Clyde said. His word's his bond. He's twice the man most of us are. Hell, he's twice the man I am. He looked around. We vote to take his kids. We're cowards, all of us. Slowly, others stood. Mary Gibbs, then another farmer, then another. A wave of solidarity. Warren Kent's face darkened. This is sentiment, not law. The sheriff, a quiet man named Boone, spoke for the first time. Law says temporary custody pending investigation. I investigated. He looked at Kent. Found nothing but decency, Kent sputtered. You can't. Children go home tonight? Boone said. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some grumbled. But the decision was made. Wyatt didn't wait. He and Nora rode straight to Judith's house. Hope and Eli burst out the door before they even dismounted. Hope leaped into Nora's arms, first symbolic, intentional. Eli hugged Wyatt's leg, then reached for Nora. You came, Hope sobbed. Of course we did, Nora said, holding her tight. Wyatt knelt, gathered both children. We're going home, and no one's taking you again. They rode back together, 4 people, 1 family. In the distance, Warren Kent watched from his office window, alone, defeated. Truth don't need a loud voice, just a steady one. Spring came slow, but it came. Wildflowers exploded across the prairie. Sarah's garden bloomed columbine, lupine, Indian paintbrush. Nora tended them every morning, talking to Sarah like an old friend. I'll take care of them, she whispered. I promise. The wind answered, warm this time. 3 months after the gathering, Wyatt and Nora stood in the yard behind the cabin. No church, no crowd, just family. Reverend Thorne officiated. Mrs. Barrett had sewn Nora's dress simple, cream-colored, beautiful. Hope and Eli held wildflower bouquets, grinning so hard their faces hurt. Do you? Wyatt Cole. Take Nora Hale. I do. Wyatt didn't wait for the full question. Nora laughed, tears streaking her face. Do you, Nora Hale? I do. Then by the grace of God and the witness of this community, I pronounce you husband and wife. Wyatt kissed her, gentle, real. The small crowd clapped. Mary Gibbs, Alice Turner, Clyde Harper, even Mrs. Barrett, crying into her handkerchief. Eli stepped forward, cleared his throat. Everyone froze. He sang Sarah's lullaby, every word, clear and true. Nora covered her mouth, sobbing. Wyatt pulled her close. When Eli finished, Wyatt knelt. Your mama would be proud. She sent Miss Nora, Eli said simply, so we wouldn't be sad anymore. Wyatt couldn't speak, just nodded. After the ceremony, Wyatt took his family to Sarah's grave. He knelt, set Hope's wildflowers at the base of the cross. Thank you, he whispered, for teaching me to love, and for letting me love again. He felt Nora's hand on his shoulder, looked up. She was crying, but smiling. She'd like you, Wyatt said. I hope so. They walked back to the cabin. The table was set for 4, but this time, a 5th chair waited. A boy sat there, 10 years old, orphaned. No family. The town was going to send him to an orphanage in the east. Wyatt and Nora brought him home instead. Is he staying? Hope asked. Wyatt looked at Nora. She nodded. If he wants to, Wyatt said. The boy name was Samuel looked up with wide, hopeful eyes. I can stay. You can stay. Samuel smiled. First time in months. They ate together, talked, laughed. The cabin was full again, warm again, alive again. as the sun set. Wyatt stood in the doorway, looked out at the land, the garden, the stars just beginning to appear. Nora joined him, slipped her hand into his. "You all right?" she asked. "Yeah." He kissed her forehead. "I'm all right." Inside, the children played. Outside, spring bloomed. The door stood open, not closed against the world, welcoming it. Family wasn't made by blood. It was built board by board, heart by healing heart. And when you built it right, come hell or high water, even winter broke, spring always came. Home ain't a place. It's the people who make room for you at the table. The end.